Okay, so the next thing I want to do before we wrap this up is I just want to take a couple cases of turning a fallacy into an argument, because I know because like I said, that's a big part of these last two chapters, and it's also going to come up on the assessment. So let's look at this example. We have this classic exceptional case fallacy about Bill Gates. Bill Gates didn't go to college, and he's a millionaire, so college is a waste of time. So once again, it's an exceptional case fallacy because it takes an exceptional case that is Bill Gates and generalizes about all of college for everyone. When in fact, most research suggests that you will actually make more money and raise your social standards and raise your class, really, by going to college. Right? So we can't take one person and generalize about all college from that. That's why it's a fallacy. However, we could make up some numbers, because remember, when you're creating these arguments, I'm asking you to think of what it would take to make it an argument. What other premises could we add if we had them? And that means you can pull in from your imagination. What sort of study would it take? You can make it up so that it helps you determine what would make the argument stronger. And that's exactly what I've done here. So I made up two statistics. According to a study, 50% of currently employed people did not go to college. So right there, I'm supporting the idea that college was a waste of time because lots of people didn't go to college. Also, another study showed that 60% of college graduates are unemployed. And then the second study shows that, well, wait a minute, if people went to college and they're not working, maybe it is a waste of time, right? So these are relevant premises now. And notice what I did for the conclusion. I made the argument stronger by saying, for some, college is a waste of time. Because clearly, even with those numbers that I made up, there would still be a significant portion of the population that is getting something out of college, right? 40%, 50%, respectively. So that's why I had to add for some. So this is something else to think about. When you're turning a fallacy into an argument, you can modify the conclusion as well to kind of fit better with the premises too. And there are cases when you can actually change the conclusion. Your only task when you're turning a fallacy to an argument is to somehow take the framework of the fallacy and construct it into an argument and leave as much as you can. There might be cases where you leave the premise and other cases where you leave the conclusion. Okay, so let's look at this one. If I join a hiking club, the next thing you'll know, I'll be rock climbing and mountaineering, and who knows what else. I've got too much to do to get into all that, so I'm not going to join a hiking club. So this is a bit of a slippery slope, because who's to say that joining one club is going to necessarily lead them into mountaineering and rock climbing? Seems like a little bit of a stretch. Maybe not as bad of a slippery slope as some of the previous ones, but still, I mean, the speaker clearly has control over his own behavior. He's suggesting that if I do one thing, suddenly I'm going to start joining everything. Seems a little bit premature to go there. And it's not very good reason, in any case, for why he shouldn't join a hiking club. So we have a slippery slope. To turn it into an argument, what I did was I listed out the conclusion with a few lines for premises, and I said, what would it take to give me a good reason to join a hiking club? What would good reasons be for one to join a hiking club? And I said, for one not to join. What would good reasons be against joining a hiking club? Why would one not want to join a hiking club? And one good reason would be, well, you don't like hiking. That's a very clear reason why you wouldn't want to join the club. You don't have much money for the fees that you have to pay. And you got too much to do, right? So I won't join a hiking club. Now, this is an argument now because we've provided more legitimate reasons. And notice there's no inappropriate generalizing or anything, because the premises are about I, the person making the argument, and the conclusion is about I, the person making the argument. So we've now turned this into a more legitimate argument from a slippery slope fallacy.